Hello, you beautiful little ginger snaps. Welcome back to another episode of Stitches and Stories. I got a cup of hot chocolate. It's so hot that I'm scared to drink it, but my throat hurts. So if I sound a little off today, it's because I've got some kind of like cold or hay fever going on. Yeah, I could have used some cooling down. I'm going to sip this here and hopefully drink it throughout. I wanted to pop on, guys, because we're going to talk about a special book tonight. You know that saying, we're either slaying or slaying. It's either Christmas movies or serial killer documentaries. Yeah, that's me this season. And I am loving a good combination of both together. And so I'm going to tell you that going in that I had already made up my mind on what this rating for this book was going to be before I hit the halfway mark. I kind of threw our rating system out the window. But that's alright. We're going to start crocheting. Oh, I know, we're crocheting tonight. I'm going to crochet another pickle. Don't judge him. Kind of reminds me of Larry the Cucumber. He's cute. My nieces and nephews love doing gifts, the pickle gifts. If you want to know more about it, I can do another video on it. But basically, it's a old tradition that we took to a modern element. And you look for a pickle on the tree, but we have like 6 of them. And so they're numbered, and then each pickle goes with a different present. So I'm making some because my niece wanted the pickle presents to be pickles this year. And so I'm going to buy a couple actual pickles for them to eat. But then I have like this one that's a crocheted backpack hanger. And I'm going to make another one of those too. Because some of the pickles I want to get are going to be a little weird. So we're going to do this, and we're going to use a 1/9 or a 5.50 mm hook. And I love this yarn. That is the name of this brand. Someone asked me if I was kidding. I'm not kidding. It is a Hobby Lobby brand. It's called I Love This Yarn, and it is one of my favorite yarns in the world. It is a regular $4.99 for a skein, but it comes with about 300 yards of yarn, so it's worth it. But then I go on their 30% sale, so then I tend to get them for about $3.99 a scheme instead, and so that's nice. But anyway, we're gonna crochet this pickle, and we're gonna talk about a book. So I picked this book up in July, actually. Someone, I can't even remember who, one of my author friends was involved in a Stuff Your Kindle event where, you know, there's just a bunch of free ebooks. And I kind of went through, and I was like, I know I'm not going to want romance. I was looking for the feature. So I went through and I looked for thriller and murder mystery, because that's what I've been craving. And some, whoops, I did too many. I need to do 5 on here, and I didn't even count. And some Christmas ones, and they had actually quite a bit Christmas ones and quite a bit thriller. That's 3. Hold on. 4 and 5. I don't know how to make a magic circle, guys, but one of my friends told me to chain 5 and then connect it, and that's how I did the other one, and it worked. So that's what we're gonna do. Okay, I've tried to make a magic circle, and for some reason my magic circle doesn't magic. It doesn't even circle. Sometimes it circles and then it falls apart, if that counts. But see, that makes a circle, so we're going with it. So this one was among those books, and it is called Merry Little Vengeance, Holiday Quick Kills #1. Maybe it's part of a bigger world that this author is part of. I really don't know, but I'm here for it. If so, I'm going to read the rest of this series. The author is Joan de la Haye. Joan de la Haye. It's Joan, Joan, like Joan of the Arc, and then DE space LA space HAYE. And I love that name. I think it sounds gorgeous. It's 57 pages, okay? So it's a short story. Started it December 7th, finished it December 7th. I devoured this book, guys. It had me, like, straight from the beginning of this book. It opens on an airplane, and our main character, we are told immediately, is a hit woman, alright? We know this, like, right up front, that is her job. And so sewing this thing inside out, outside in. I might just have to cut that part off. And so, she's on a plane and she feels naked because she doesn't have her 9mm on her. And you don't know what's quite going on, just that she's going home for Christmas and that she's being made to take this vacation. Like, her coworkers are all like, yo, you work way too much and you do such a great job, but you need to, like, take a break. But you find out that she, really early on, there's not much I can tell you about this story without giving away spoilers, but I think I got it figured out where I can talk to you about it without giving spoilers. That's why I don't often review short stories on here, right? Because it's hard to talk about them without giving spoilers, but I think I can on here, okay? So you find out that she doesn't want to go home because her sister was tragically offed when she was a child. Her sister was in an abusive relationship, and she witnessed her sister being killed by her sister's boyfriend. But she was like 8 years old at the time, and the police didn't believe her. And the boyfriend conveniently had an excuse for what she saw and was all like, oh, the screams were just a movie we were watching, and oh, she didn't see me putting her sister in the trunk. She saw me putting her sister's suitcase in the trunk because her sister ran off. And he's a grade A D-bag, okay, guys? And you know that right off the bat. This is really well put together for being a short story. It is extremely hard to write a short story that is cohesive and has plot and has character development. I wouldn't call what happens in here actually technically character development, but I will say that it is a resolution and that I am very, very pleased with it, okay? It's listed as a horror short story. Horror, not like a lady on the street, horror. You know what I mean. I'm Midwestern. I'm sorry if that sounds like the other word. I'm trying. But it is listed as that, and it's not really that, alright? There is the unsolved case of her sister, and she is a hit woman. Her job is to take people out, and there is a pretty brutal killing scene in this book, but I wouldn't call it horror. I would call it more of a thriller, because you know what's gonna happen, okay? It's not like there's jump scares or a masked murderer on the run or anything. You know what's gonna happen. You're in her head, you're in our main character's head, and she tells you what she has planned right off the bat. When she finds out that her sister's killer is back in town and living in a house that they used to hang out at when they were kids, she tells you what she has planned. And so you're just like, oh my god, is she actually gonna do it at a Christmas party full of all these people? Like, how is this gonna go down? Is she gonna get away with it? All right. And I will say one thing about this is that the story doesn't give us much of a follow-up on the events that take place in it. We know that she does a pretty decent job of covering her tracks and stuff, but we don't actually know what the actual fallout is. I will tell you that. But I liked the story. It had me on the edge of the seat. I honestly was hoping that she'd get her own form of personal justice since the justice system failed her. And I know that is a controversial thing to say. Vigilantism is frowned upon for a reason. You should not ever take the law into your own hands, but when the law fails you, what else are you supposed to do, kind of thing. And so it does ask that question. And I did like that our main character is a woman hitman. We see a lot of books where it's a guy, or we see a lot of books where the woman is a hitman, but she's portrayed in this like overly sexualized way. Our main character in here, Marin, is not, okay? She goes by Mars, by the way, Mars and Mars Bar, but her name is Marin, and she is not portrayed in an overly sexualized way. She's portrayed as a very calculated business type of lady. Like I said, it talks about personal vengeance, sucks me in right from the start. It's a 90-minute murder mystery was also what the description said, and I would not classify this as a murder mystery because there is no mystery, okay? The the cold case in here isn't really a cold case. Like, all the evidence was like circumstantial, so they couldn't prosecute the guy and stuff. Like, and they also didn't really like look that much deep into it. And it takes place in Barbados, and so I'm gonna be honest that I don't know much about the Barbados justice system either. I don't know if it runs differently than ours or not. I don't know if the author is from there. I did not read her About Me page, but I just took what the author said at face value and went with it, because sometimes that's what you need to do with stories, and you need to not focus on all the, oh my god, did she get this correct kind of thing. But I wouldn't call it a murder mystery because there's no mystery. You know exactly who's to blame through this whole book. There is a lot of abuse mentioned in this book, not only towards our main character's sister, but towards another character as well. And she is an anti-hero in the way that she has a moral code. Marin is, okay? She tells us right off the bat that, yes, she's a hitman, a hit woman, but she doesn't take hits for women or children, and she tries to take hits for people who need vengeance. That, like, it's not just like, oh, this mafia guy wants this other guy out of the picture. She tries to take hits that will bring some form of justice and some kind of closure to people's lives. And she is known as one of the best in it, and she's very pissed off that she's not allowed to work over Christmas because she wanted to work over Christmas. And a little detail that I thought was interesting, and I wouldn't mind hearing about this other character story, is that they mentioned that there is a person who only works assignments around Christmas because he looks like Santa Claus, and so he can get in and out of houses and kids just think it's Santa, and so that's why he works assignments around Christmas, is because no one suspects Santa on Christmas. And so I thought that was a cute little Easter egg. There were also Easter eggs for Christmas involving gingerbread cookies. The cover for this book is amazing. I always wonder when I look at a cover, especially one that I really like, I'm like, how does this relate to the story, right? Because as an author, I think really long and hard, what do I want on my cover? It took me forever to make my last cover for to snare a spider, because I didn't want it to be, you have to get the vibes right, okay? And it was a springy vibe, but I also needed it to show a fertility festival, and I needed to show it have a little bit of a intrigue about it, and it takes a while to come up with your cover. And so when I saw this cover, I was like, ooh, naturally interested, because it was a gingerbread cookie with red frosting splattered across it, and a cutting knife jammed through it. And I was like, oh, tell me more. And I am so glad I read this book. It was so good. It was so good that I literally wanted to read it again. And that's not often for me that I say that. I don't often reread books. I'm a little shocked because on Amazon it sits at a 3.7, and on Goodreads it's sitting at a 3.58. I did take some time to read some reviews on Amazon. Most of the reviews that I read that were under 5 stars didn't actually give a reason for why they gave it such a low review, like such a low star level. It was just more like, I like this book, and then 3 stars, moving on. It wasn't really anything constructive. But on Goodreads, someone did, and I wanted to point this out because if I was in a book club talking about this book, this would be a thing that you'd want to bring up, okay? Because it's not really, what is it called? It's an analysis of a character, okay? And so this person rated it only 3 stars, and she said it's because the main character seems psychotic in her own way. I didn't see her as psychotic when I was reading this, but once that person pointed out, I do understand where she's coming from, because our main character witnessed the death of her sister, and witnessed her sister's killer get away scot-free, okay, and then grew up to become a hit woman to try to help other people get revenge, even though she never got revenge until this book. That's why it's called Merry Little Vengeance. And so witnessing something like that has to like impact the psyche. Children witness that. We don't want to admit it, but they do. Kids witness that. had some foster siblings. They didn't witness a death, but they witnessed the abuse of white and green substances, if you know what I mean, and a little nose sugar and stuff. Yeah. They witnessed that, and just by witnessing things at a young age, it can change your psyche, because when you are little, that's when you're learning what's right, what's wrong, you're learning your empathy and stuff. I don't know if I go as far as saying that our main character was a psychopath from this. Okay, and I wouldn't even say she was a sociopath, because she did show emotion. She did show an awareness of the result of her actions, and she did show clear thinking through it. So not even like an insanity plea could have worked here, all right? I really think that this was just a case of a girl who was tired of not knowing where her sister was, and tired of the guy who took her away from her being able to live scot-free and continue to terrorize other women, all right? I did find it interesting that her parents backed her up in this. Now, as a big sister, she was the little sister in here, but as a big sister, if someone hurt my little sister and then didn't get justice for it, I really don't know what I'd do. I'm not gonna lie. I would feel like this need for justice, I think. Especially if I was there, if I witnessed it, I'd want them to pay. That's why we have a justice system. That's why we have laws that dictate what can and can't be done to people, because there is part of us that when a wrong is done, we demand retribution. How does that retribution come about? Our justice system basically says, well, an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, so you can't just kill and take away everyone, right? There has to be a suitable punishment for each crime, and it's a very thin line to walk. Like, our people who make the laws, our lawmakers, I don't envy them of their job. I don't envy our judges. I don't envy the people who get called up for jury duty, because you have these people's fates in your hand. But the fact that we have that system in and of itself is a good thing. And I feel bad for our main character that her justice system failed her, and that she felt it necessary to take justice into her own hands. It was a very short book, as I said, very short, very quick. I read it. It's like 90 minutes online. It was under 90-minute books, but I think I probably read it in less than an hour. I'm not gonna lie. And it's like pretty cheap on Amazon right now. I think the last I checked it was 99 cents. Don't quote me on that, I could be wrong, but I think it was pretty cheap. So if you're in the mood for something like holiday-ish, but with this like dark side to it, I would definitely consider picking up this book, because it's definitely worth it in my opinion. So like I told you at the beginning, I kind of threw the grading system out the window, because I just fell head over heels for this book and felt bad for our main character. Now, I do want to say on the topic of psychopath and sociopath and whether our main character could be one, I did just read this book right after reading another book called My Sister the Serial Killer, and we will talk about that one at a later date. And that one, there is a character in it that does have sociopathic tendencies, and so part of me may just be comparing this character to that one. I will be totally honest. I am not a psychologist. I cannot tell you whether this character has any psychological disposition that could affect her reasoning and stuff, okay? But what I will tell you is that she definitely seemed more clear-headed and more level-headed than someone who didn't know what they were doing, and she seemed empathetic, because no one takes the time to make it a crime scene not look like a crime scene and look like a case of a runaway if they don't have empathy for the people who are left behind. You know what I mean? And so I don't see her being that. but maybe she is. Maybe I'm just wrong. Is this pickle getting too long? Hold on. Okay, we gotta start closing this pickle off. And so I gave this one a solid 5 stars all across the board because as far as short stories go, this was an amazing short story. It had a beginning, it had a middle, it had an end, it had a climax, it had character resolution, plot resolution, not really character development. Our character is still who she is at the end of the book, the same person who she is at the end as she is at the beginning, but there is this sense of fulfillment about her. There are a lot of different characters in here. You can definitely feel the atmosphere. The descriptions are really well done. I liked the pool party scene. Honestly, I kind of got secondhand embarrassment for all the guests that were at this party because I was like, oh my god. Like, I understood why they were all leaving, alright? And so if this book, which is 57 pages, can make me feel like I'm there and like I'm witnessing this and that I'm in the character's head, why not give it 5 stars? So this one's definitely 5 stars for me, is what I'm saying. So go pick it up if you want something that has both slain and slain in it. See what I did there? I really need to get like a shirt or something that says that. I don't have the next book written down, but I think the next book we're going to talk about will be My Sister the Serial Killer, because I have a lot to discuss about that book. That book was, that's all I can say. That book was something else, alright? I read it for a Goodreads challenge, but it was something else. And so if you haven't read it yet, go pick it up because we will be discussing it shortly. And so I'm going to go tie off this. I forgot to put the eyeballs in it. I'm not going to tie off it. I'm going to frog a part of this. I'm going to frog it down to here. There we go. Nope, I'm going to frog it in one more. Yep, frog it to here. And then I'm going to go put eyeballs on it and sew it off. So thank you guys for joining us, and thank you for putting up with my sore throat. Let me know in the comments if you've read this book. Let me know if you have any more like holiday thriller books, or even like thriller books that take place in like the snow, when a snowy steep, or the cold months, because that's what I want to read right now, okay? I have a couple queued up, but I have one more challenge for the year on Goodreads, and I have a book that my friend sent me, Amber did, called Say a Little Prayer, which qualifies for the challenge. And then I also have a book, Dating in Dungeons. No, Dungeons and Drama was the first one. So Dating and Dragons that I want to read because I like the first book. And so thank you guys for being here, and I hope you guys stay warm. Till next time.